Brodes Media.
Hey, what's happening, everyone? A few quick things before we dive into the conversation. We are on the road to 20,000 subscribers. So if you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also, smash that thumbs up button, too. I greatly appreciate all the support. Also, on Twitter, @Brodes81, make sure you toss me a follow. Nice and simple. And with that, make sure you enjoy the show. What is going on, everyone? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Brodes. Okay, let's dissect this Pirates series. I already lost my damn mind after the 7-0 loss in Game 1 on Friday night, but we do need to nitpick now Game 2 and Game 3. And because they won Game 3 with 20 hits, and Bryce Harper had a couple doubles, more than a couple, he had 3 doubles, and this team exploded offensively. Didi Gregorius was able to catch up to the baseball, which was significant considering he did not know how to do that in so many damn games and so many damn outings. And also, the New York Mets lost. So, in theory, here we go again. They're 3.5 games back, which excites a lot of individuals and makes you feel that this was a better series than what it was because their offense came alive and it's day 3 of the series and they won. Therefore, you feel better about it. But ultimately, that series sucked. That series was awful. That series was pathetic. And even here in Game 3, the base running mistakes, my Lord, how many times do you see this team fundamentally look horrendous? And it's everyone. Bryce Harper at second base. I mean, the list goes on with how many players have problems with simple, basic plays when you learn about this sport at such a young age, where it's just mind-blowing. It really is. But, of course, that will get overlooked because their offense smashed. And it should smash. The Pirates are a disgraceful franchise right now, and they don't know how to win a lot of baseball games. What you witnessed today was what you should have seen the first 2 games of this series. So, besides the Marlins, which was the first series after the All-Star break, they have not won a series since. They have not won a series in the second half other than the Miami Marlins. And now they go to Washington, and realistically, what am I supposed to expect other than probably another split? Because that's what just happened when this same team came to town. Although they did make some noise in the trade deadline by trading Max Scherzer, by trading Trey Turner. So it is a different team, maybe mentally as well, a little bit more checked out. But since when does that matter when you talk about the Phillies in a series? You don't think the Pirates are checked out? You don't think the Pirates feel that they're going to get abused every time they touch the diamond? And they just lost 2 out of 3. So it really doesn't matter where the opposing team is in their own head or in the standings, because when the Phillies come to town, you can easily bet that they're going to play down to their competition. So in Game 2, they fall 3-2. The 9th inning was nasty, and what I mean by that is terrible. Jose Alvarado getting into some trouble, and I thought that there was a scenario where the Phils could have took advantage of maybe loading up the bases. So when Alec Boehm gets that ball at third base and he comes home with the throw, and it's a little bit too far right, and JT Realmuto can't make the tag, which is the game-changing play, the game-winning play, I should say. If you load up the bases, you have a force. You have a force out, and maybe you could turn 2 in that situation if you're quick enough, and if not, okay, but you get the force out at home. It eliminates the actual tag. I think that that's basic and standard. It's a tied baseball game. It doesn't hurt to throw a walk in the mix, an intentional walk. You already had a player at third base. I don't know. I mean, to me, you load up the bases and you play from there because it eliminates the actual situation that played out, which was a problem at the end of the day. Look, Aaron Nola in that game was fine. He was okay. He gave you that quality start. He went 6 innings, allowed 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walked batter with 101 pitches. But going back to Alvarado, and look, Nola got you a sac fly in the 5th inning when the score was 2-0, and they did not cash in on that opportunity to score more runs, which was very deflating. But going back to Alvarado, they changed Ranger Suarez's role from the bullpen to the starting rotation. And one, I don't agree with that at all, because even though Ranger Suarez was supposed to be a starter in his career, he's been thrown into this role, but he's done a nice job. He's actually done a decent job in that spot. Why mess with something that's good? It's the same thing we asked when Spencer Howard was getting moved all these spots. Like, you found something good in an area where your team needs serious help. They need legitimate help in the bullpen. Someone is thriving in that moment, and you pluck him away to put him in the starting rotation. Now, they need help in the starting rotation as well, and it does seem Ranger Suarez is built a bit differently than Spencer Howard in the mind, where it seems, at least, and only time will tell, but it seems he has the, I don't care where you put me, throw me somewhere and I will deliver. I will be ready for the moment. I will seize that opportunity. There does seem to be more of that in Suarez than there was in Spencer Howard, but I still don't get behind it. And what that does is now you have to go to Alvarado, when you could have went to Ranger Suarez, and look at what the outcome was. You lost that baseball game in such an ugly way. You know, it's crazy. Phillies missed hittable pitches all night long. You know, another scenario where they're going up against Brubacher, who's who? Yeah, exactly. Who? Not going up against anyone elite, not going up against anyone special. But in game one, you get beat when you're looking at a 6.13 ERA. Here in game two, all these pitches are hittable pitches. And I thought Ricky Bo said it perfectly after the game. How come we, the people who sit here and study the game just from an outsider perspective, we can go on Baseball Savant and check out when players are throwing certain pitches, what they like to throw in certain counts, what their off speed is and the percentage that they use it, what their strikeout pitch is. I mean, we can see all of this information and all of this data, yet when the Phillies are up to bat, it just seems they are guessing. Now, ironically enough, here comes game 3 where they put up 20 hits and they go on a wild ride, but I can go back to majority of the time we've seen this team struggle more times than not offensively, and timely hits has been a disaster as of late, and that has been a common theme with this baseball team. So why can we get all that information, yet they look foolish majority of the time at the dish? It really is one of those scenarios that, you know, is frustrating and blows my mind completely because it's hard to fully comprehend. Here's another thing that I think about when we talk about Ranger Suarez, Alvarado, and by no means do I want to turn this political. No way in hell. No way in hell. But I did state earlier on, when you were having the drama with the COVID vaccine, that you need to pay for your actions. If you don't want to get vaccinated, that's fine. You have the ability to say, I don't want to get vaccinated. That is your choice, but you need to live with those consequences. Falter is still not available. Think about the bullpen. Think about what guys you're using. And who knows if Alvarado still would have been used there and Falter, you know, who knows? Falter could be a starter, though, which would keep Ranger Suarez back in his bullpen role. That is something that changes your bullpen and your starting rotation, and that is a decision that this specific player and a lot of players on this team decided to do. That's their decision. That's fine. But pay the consequences. Your consequences is costing you baseball games. Just know that is part of the consequences. So, you know, when you're in this tight race, and I'm using air quotes here because you're in this tight race due to defaults, not due to your actual play and how solid you are as a squad, you know, it's going to hurt you by not being available for your team. Andrew McCutchen left this game with a knee injury, different from the knee that he had a couple years ago with him and Gene Segura getting into that debacle there at that first base side. So the MRI, the last I saw was he was getting an MRI on that knee, and hopefully it's not anything crazy bad because, you know, Andrew McCutchen has had some pop in his bat, and he has brought that life to this lineup at times, and it would be a big loss if he was not able to lace up the cleats and play the rest of the season or a chunk of the season, especially with Rhys Hoskins out as well. That's a loss, too, for this power. It definitely is. You need his bat in the lineup, and that is definitely a scary thing to think about, is not McCutchen and not having Rhys Hoskins, not having McCutchen and not having Rhys Hoskins. That would be definitely terrible to see. Okay, so the dominant win look, they won 15-4. I don't really know what to tell you other than they woke up, their offense was there. Gene Segura made some nice plays. Kyle Gibson threw 113 pitches. He definitely had the workload there. 6 2/3, 5 hits, 2 earned runs. In the third inning, he got 2 nice outs, and then from there, he walked the opposing pitcher, and things got murky. Things got ugly. But other than that moment, Kyle Gibson was pretty damn strong. 2 earned runs, 2 walk batters. They threw Ian Kennedy in there. Why? Just to show off what they acquired. And by the way, 2 hits and 2 earned runs. So, hey, this is what we got at the deadline. Kyle Gibson was strong, though. We knew that's what he was going to bring for you. At the same time, you're going up against the Pittsburgh Pirates. So I expected this when I say you knew what you were going to get. You know, I've seen his game log. I've seen his stats. I've seen him pitch. I've seen his career. I've seen who Kyle Gibson is. You know what he brings to the table when you see a Pittsburgh Pirates team, too, that is definitely not the strongest in the world. You kind of figured he'd give you a nice, strong outing like this. And also, there's some energy in there. Hey, it's my new team. I want to show them what I'm capable of. And he was absolutely solid. Kennedy, maybe not so much. And I'm speaking of some plays Segura made. How about Reynolds in center field, just in general, in this series? Made a play on Aaron Nola, made a play on JT Realmuto, made a play today at the wall. It's like nonstop. All he's doing is being a web gem kind of guy, being a SportsCenter top 10 kind of guy in this series because he was all over the damn map. Where I sit today, though, it's another one where after Brad Miller's walk-off grand slam, I wasn't happy after the series because I was still destroyed about what this team has put us through. Here's a big-time win, and on a day where they win a baseball game, you think that maybe there'd be some excitement involved, but how am I supposed to be excited after losing 2 of 3 to the worst team in all of baseball? And, the Mets keeping you in it is the Mets keeping you in it. So now that there's some optimism, but come on. I mean, are we really going to do this? Are we seriously going to ride this up and down wave after every single game? Or is it going to somewhat sink into your stomach that this is reality of the situation, okay? This new bullpen, or excuse me, I should say, this new starting rotation that they're trying to package together here of Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, Ranger Suarez, Gibson, and who am I? Is it? Oh, Chase Anderson. Oh, that's right. Chase Anderson. And let's go to Chase Anderson, by the way, because what you're basically doing is swapping Vince Velasquez for another individual who is not very good. That is what's happening here. And I get it. You need to make change because Vince Velasquez has not worked at all. But come on now. I mean, if you go through his game log and you look at what he gave you in the month of May, every single outing, 3 earned runs, 2 earned runs, 7 earned runs in 1 1/3 inning, may I add. 3 earned runs in 1 inning, may I add. 1 earned run, 2 earned runs. Walks, 4 walks, 1 walk, 1 walk, 1 walk. And keep in mind, in some of these innings and outings I'm talking about, he's going 1 inning. So, you walk a guy in 1 inning. I mean, you're not doing a good job, especially when you're allowing 3 earned runs in that same exact situation that you're in. So I'm supposed to feel a lot better because, on July 27th against Washington, when the Phillies lost 6-4, he went 2 innings and only allowed 1 hit, but he followed that outing up with July 30th in a 7-0 loss to the Pittsburgh Pirates. He went 4 innings and allowed 2 earned runs and 3 hits in a couple of innings. That's supposed to move the needle. Now, look, I get it. You're trying something different because the alternative was awful and you knew it and you can't keep trotting the same thing out there. I got you, but it doesn't make me necessarily feel any better about it. And with Zach Eflin, moving Ranger Suarez tells me a lot about where Zach Eflin is. He's probably not coming back anytime damn soon, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm reading that the wrong way, but you see what they're doing here. Something tells me, and based off of what we've heard also, he tried to throw. It wasn't as good as he thought it was going to be, so now he's going to miss another start. So just based off of that also, I don't sense any positivity out of the Zach Eflin return. And I've stressed this before, but with Zach Eflin, he's not the type of pitcher that can work through injury and fight through it. Some guys can. Some guys' If I'm 70%, I'm still going to knock you down. If I'm 70%, I'm still going to be a workhorse that's going to annihilate the opposition, and I'll mow through that lineup. Zach Eflin needs every ounce in him to give you those 6 innings, 1 earned run, to give you those 6 2/3, 2 earned runs. Like, you need every ounce of Zach Eflin to give you a solid, strong start. So, just something to look at. That's all. Something to look at when thinking about Zach Eflin and where he is. Now, I kind of want to go in a different direction here. This is a topic I had on my 97.5 The Fanatic show tonight, and it created some controversy because of the way I tweeted it out. But if you actually listen to the 4-hour show, it wasn't as hectic as the hot take was, I guess, and I use air quotes because it wasn't really that much of a hot take. But I basically asked, after 3 years of Bryce Harper, how much blame does he have for this inconsistent, very up and down emotional team? Does he have any blame? And I believe we're living in recency bias. He's hitting over 300. His OPS is very clean. He's lacked a bit in the power numbers in terms of home runs. He only has 16. And we know about the RBIs, and I've supported him saying it's not all his fault because early in the season, Andrew McCutchen was a failure in that spot, and you tried Odubel Herrera, who worked for a little bit of time, but then you kind of lost it there. When no one's on base in front of you, it's hard to knock in all those runs. So I'm not bashing him for that. But ultimately, offensively, Bryce Harper has been fine. I guess my question is, it's been 3 years. I'm not talking about this year offensively and his OPS, which is where naturally everybody went. He's doing fine offensively. There's some recency bias, though, because the previous 2 years, hitting 260 last year and 268, was it 260 2 years ago, 268 last year. His first year here in Philadelphia, he did have 114 RBI with 35 homers, and his walks was 99. So I didn't hate his production, but before this season offensively, his production was, I'd say, underwhelming, a little bit underwhelming. My point is this, though, $330 million man, and you see him lose the fly balls that he lost in this series against the Pirates, the brutal base running mistake that he made today. He needs to be a bigger leader, in my opinion, just culture-wise, clubhouse-wise. This team for 3 years now has had a lack of focus problem, a fundamental problem, a prepared-to-play problem. You're telling me your president of baseball operations makes a move at the deadline, your first game is against the worst team in baseball, and you lose 7-0? It's not the biggest problem with this franchise. It's an organizational failure. We get that. The bullpen is a problem. The defense is a problem. But I also expect a $330 million face of a franchise to be able to kind of help fix those holes, help stop the bleeding. I think that there's a lack of leadership from Bryce Harper as the face of the franchise. I truly do believe that. That doesn't mean he's not worth the money. It doesn't mean that he's a horrendous player. That's not what I'm saying at all. I like Bryce Harper a lot as a player, and I think he provides a lot as a player. It's been 3 years now of lack of focus baseball and mistake fundamental baseball. There's got to be some sort of accountability from leadership in the locker room, in the clubhouse, and I would expect that to come from a player of Bryce Harper's caliber. Yes, I do. So there is some blame to go on Bryce Harper when you think about this extreme emotional roller coaster that we have experienced for 3 seasons now. Take away the offensive production, because I'm not even talking about the 300 recency bias that he is hitting right now. It's the intangibles. It's outside of the offensive baseball production. It's more about locker room presence. Rhys Hoskins is the most vocal guy. Should it be? One of the callers I had said, maybe that's not just who he is. Well, if it's not who he is, I'm disappointed in that. I'm disappointed because when we signed Bryce Harper, I expected more of an edge. I expected more of swag. I expected more of attitude. I expected more of what we're missing here in this team, which is control. Control of the clubhouse. I don't think Bryce has the control. So he's not the major reason. He might not even be in the top 3 reasons. But what I kept hearing was he's got zero to do with where this team is. He's got zero to do with where this team is. Excuse me. I didn't realize that $25 million a year means that he can get off scot-free. I don't hate the signing. I love the signing. I question, though, with where we are now with a bit of hindsight, was the timing of the contract the best? Because now I see the dysfunction organizationally with the prospects and how they're built. I don't love the timeline because I probably would strip things down, take a few steps backward so we can spring forward and get past the issues that we're at now. If you go back a bit, you sell a few pieces, you restock the farm system, and you kind of bounce forward from there, that's the road I would take. And does that necessarily fit the Bryce Harper timeline of his prime? Maybe not, because you're probably burning a couple of years in that range that I'm speaking about right now of Bryce Harper. So if anything, I question the timing of it with the timeline of the franchise and what's best for the organization. But at that moment, they didn't believe that they were this much of a disaster. Shame on them. They did not fully assess their franchise the right way, and it was a different regime. You had Matt Klentak, you had Andy McPhail. John Middleton is the common denominator, which upsets me a lot, considering I believe that he's a fraud. But I don't think it's crazy to say that Bryce Harper has blame in this lackadaisical, no heart, fundamentally flawed baseball team. Of course he does. Of course he does. It's because I think people feel that he gets zero blame and doesn't deserve any blame because he chose Philly. He could have went anywhere, and he wanted to be one of us. It blows my mind. Claude Giroux gets crushed and annihilated all the time because he's the captain and the franchise hasn't had a lot of success. He gets destroyed. Carson Wentz, quarterback of the football team, gets destroyed. Ben Simmons gets destroyed. Bryce Harper, well, he chose us. And why I feel he somewhat slides under the radar as well is because long season, 162 games. By the 90-game mark, 100-game mark, a lot of these fans are like, I'm beaten down by it. I don't care anymore. Just get me to football season. And by the time the Philly season ends, the Eagles are ready to rock and roll. And you're all footballed up. You're all ready to rock with the team of this city, which is the Philadelphia Eagles. Everybody bleeds green. Not everybody bleeds red. This is not the New York Yankees. This is not the Los Angeles Dodgers fan base. This is the Philadelphia Phillies, which falls third on the list behind the Eagles and the Sixers. So there's not as much passion to care because by the time the season's over, you're either already checked out because, well, it's baseball anyway. There's too many games, which is the thought process of some. Or, hey, we're ready to go with the Eagles. Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts is ready to rock. So, it's interesting to me, that's all. To say he deserves zero blame because he's hitting 300 on his OPS is a very flawed statement. I mean, we've all discussed how brutally painful this team is, how they don't seem prepared, how they don't seem ready to compete, how their offense struggles big time in big situations. And while, yes, Gene Segura needing to make a play is on Gene Segura needing to make a play. And Andrew McCutchen being sloppy is on Andrew McCutchen being sloppy. I go through this all the time with individual players needing to be accountable for themselves, which is very true. But there's also a leadership quality here that I would like to see more from Bryce Harper than I do. And I don't think that that's unfair. I don't think that's going too extreme. If I said he's the biggest reason, then that's being too extreme. To claim that I would like more out of his leadership quality, and he's a part of the issue of the team not being ready to compete as the face of the team. Well, yes. Yes, I think that's true. I think that's true. He's part of that, yes. How is he not? Take away this season, right? If you ask this fan base, the smart ones, how would you rate Bryce Harper to this point? There would be some criticism, as there should be. So yet, all of a sudden, there's no criticism because he's hitting the ball better this season? I've seen horrendous mistakes out of him that fall in the same category of Alec Boehm, that fall in the same category of Andrew McCutchen. And you don't have to be perfect. Nobody's saying perfect and where you're just flawless and you never make a mistake ever. No. That would be foolish. I'm never demanding an individual to never make a mistake. There's a reason why errors are on the scorecard because, yeah, humans do make mistakes and they do read it the wrong way. But, I mean, they're 51 and 52 or 52 and 53, and to act as if he can't get any criticism at all because he's hitting 300 is just insane to me. Insane. Where I'm looking at it is not so much offensively. My angle is more about the intangibles. Everyone loves Jalen Hurts intangibles, yet I can't bring up the intangibles of Bryce Harper. And as much as I don't want to do this, and I will say that there's a part of me that feels that when he left Washington, the clubhouse in Washington got together and said, we don't need him. We can do it without him. And that actually helped spark that team. They used that to their advantage as motivation. It wasn't necessarily just because he left. But maybe there's a reason why they weren't willing to match the Phillies. Maybe they knew something that we didn't know from the outsider perspective. Maybe there's something to that. I don't think he's a bad person. I don't think he plays the game necessarily the wrong way. So I'm not attacking his character, but maybe they realized that leadership quality that was lacking. Maybe that's one of the reasons why they felt it wasn't necessarily the right idea to go to the level that the Phillies went to for that contract. And AAV-wise, there's plenty of guys making way more money than Bryce Harper. I'm not trying to bash the dude. I'm just objectively looking at where the Phillies are after 3 years with him being here. This team has not been prepared to play, and he is looked at as the guy. There's got to be something to the correlation of the same product we've seen and the lack of leadership there. A couple years ago, Carlos Santana smashing television screens in the clubhouse. And we all thought that was a Gabe Kapler problem. Well, remove Gabe Kapler. He's in a different city. By the way, leading the NL West, who have the Dodgers and the Padres in the mix. And we're still having the same flaws. Something to look at. I know it's hard to do because we love Bryce. We love Bryce. I love Bryce. I love Bryce. It's hard to criticize or look at, this angle to someone that you love so much who chose this city and wanted to be here. I got you. It's not easy. It's difficult to do. But I'm asking, try to remove yourself from, I love Bryce, I love Bryce, I love Bryce, I love Bryce. And start wondering, who's the leader? Who's the leader? And if it's not Bryce, is that wrong? Shouldn't it be? One caller brought up this point. The best player doesn't always have to be the leader. You're damn right. That is so true. You are very right. The best player does not have to be the leader. But Bryce Harper has to do more leading than he is. And I'll leave there. I'll leave it right there. DraftKings Sportsbook is not only my favorite sportsbook, but also America's top-rated sportsbook. Speaking of America, our top athletes are over in Tokyo competing for the gold, and DraftKings has a medal-worthy offer just for my listeners. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app right now and use promo code Brodes when you sign up to turn $1 into $100 in free credits if America wins a medal. That's code Brodes to turn $1 into $100 in free credits for a limited time only in DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only. Nope. Must be 21 or older. New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, or in Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT. All right, let's take a couple anytime hotline calls here to get the reaction of this series.
Yeah, nice little win for the Phils there. What more can you ask for out of Kyle Gibson? Sad that we're happy about this, but, he gave you length and he gave you decent, he didn't take you out of it by the second inning, which is, the Phillies, reality still is, the team sucks. They are not complete. They have way too many holes, and you're contending for all the wrong reasons. You're just contending because your division's bad. You're not a contending team. So, fun to watch, I guess, offensive explosion, right back to 3.5 games out, but
see, I didn't even think it was that fun. I think I'm so destroyed after so many damn years of this that I'm no longer having fun with this team and the journey. I stated this before. A couple of years ago, if they were in this position, you could be cute and funny with the whole, hey, they're going to do this. It's not funny anymore. It's just been so long of this where, enough's enough. Enough is enough, okay? Like, it's time to stop with this nonsense. I get it. There's a growing curve, and there's a learning situation as a team that's trying to become a core, but eventually, enough is enough. It's time to actually be a real baseball team, and if you're not going to be, then Dave Dombrowski has to start pulling the trigger on some moves. I'm fascinated thinking about where Dave Dombrowski is going to go in this offseason in the winter. Because to me, I'm fully assessing where we are. We have to do a deep dive in who are the Phillies, What are they for next season? Because if you run it back with Bowman left field because McCutcheon's gone, Gene Segura, Rhys Hoskins, Bryce Harper, JT, Didi Gregorius, what are you going to expect? Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler, and Zach Eflin. What are you going to expect? You have Kyle Gibson, okay, as maybe a 3-4 guy. Why expect anything different? What's going to magically change? You're not just a bullpen away. You're a bullpen away, 30 runs. Like, when you think about the defensive runs saved, they're 30th in the league. 30th. That's the worst. 30th. You have to fix that. You got to fix the bullpen. Probably need some more bats. That's a lot of fixing to do. And if you don't, and you just run it back, what's going to change? It's crazy. It really is.
Hey, bros, this just sucks. Phillies lose. I don't know where the offense has been. We're making Will Crow and JT Brubaker look like Jacob deGrom, which just seems to happen a lot. It seems so streaky. The Phillies should have sold. And I know even if we win tomorrow, or if the Mets lose, and the Mets might lose today, not sure yet. But if people are going to look at this like, oh, we're still only 3.5 games back, I don't think we're even close to being good enough to beat the Mets.
Yeah, well, they do have a series coming up in a couple series, which will be fascinating to see how that plays out, and that could definitely be changing to the run, no doubt. You know, I mean, if the Mets sweep, good luck. If the Phillies sweep, uh-oh. Not that I think that's actually going to happen, but I'm just saying it's crazy to think about where that goes with the 3.5 game back theory. Yeah, I mean, it's so flawed. Normally, when you're a good team, yes, you look at the games back, and that's what you focus on. If you're the Padres and you're fighting with the Giants and the Dodgers, yeah, looking at games back makes a lot of sense. That's the traditional way of looking at the baseball standings. But now, I mean, that doesn't tell you anything about the Phillies. It just tells you about your surrounding pieces that suck. Or in the Mets case, I don't think the Mets stink. They're better than average. They're not great. I guess they're just like a good team. The Mets are a good team. They're not average. They're not great. They're in the middle, so they're a good team. But it tells you more about the Braves being bad, the Nationals being bad, and the Phillies somehow being in that spot more than it does anything else. And that, to me, is unacceptable. I got to figure out how to fix the Phillies before anything else. And with that, we're going to shut it down here. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of Sports Talk with Brodes, and I will see you next time.